BookTube, it's Missy, and today I'm here to share with you guys my Around the Year in 52 Books wrap up. There are 52 books that I will be sharing with you in this video. I will be sharing the category or the challenge somewhere on the screen, and just know I have a few, and when I say a few, maybe about 7 books that I have on my list that I have not yet read, but I'm hoping that I can read those in the next 2 weeks before the month is over and I will have all of them done. I know I had a TBR for December. I have read some of those books from the TBR. I will just be transferring the books that I haven't finished to my January TBR, but for now, let's just get started with the categories. Number 1 is read a book with the letters A, T, and Y on the cover. I have Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan Mcguire. A, T, and Y. Very good. Next is a book from the first 10 books you added to your TBR list. Now, I'm guessing that is for Goodreads, and when I very first started on Goodreads, I think that was in 2013, maybe? So with that being said, the first 10 books that I put on my TBR, one of them was The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown, the sequel to Angels and Demons, the sequel sharing our Robert Langdon story. I even had a person comment saying, you haven't read this yet? And no, I don't know why I haven't. I've seen the movie, but it definitely needs to be read. And so I'm hoping in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to power through this book. I'm not watching any YouTube videos. I am going to be very good and just read for the next 2 weeks. Crossing my fingers. Please leave me well wishes down below because I need them. All right, so this is number 2. The third challenge is to read a book from the 2017 Goodreads Choice Awards. And for that one, I've already read it. That's Artemis by Andy Weir. I hated this book. I didn't like the antagonist. I didn't like the protagonist. I didn't like the plot. I don't really like espionage or heist books and movies. I despised this book, and I've already given it away. So here's the cover, and to you lucky winner who received this book, I hope you enjoy it more than I did. Next challenge says 4 books linked by 4 elements. So of course we have earth, wind, fire, and water, and book 1 is going to be earth. So I chose Down Among the Sticks and Bones, and as you can see, there is a lot of earth on the cover. Woo! This was very good. This is the sequel to Every Heart a Doorway. If you haven't read The Wayward Children yet, I would recommend picking them up because they are skinny and very good. I like them. All right, the 5th challenge is to read a book about or inspired by real events. Now, I'm probably being a little lax with this challenge. I chose Death in Yellowstone, Accidents and Foolhardiness in the First National Park by Lee H. Whittlesey. When it says inspired or a book about real events, I am guessing that means nonfiction. This is full of real events, so I think I nailed that challenge. Pretty sure I did, especially since this book is humongous. And look at the print. That font is so tiny, it took 2 months to read this. All right, the next challenge is a book originally written in a language other than English. Now, I didn't read anything this year yet that was a translated book. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. This year I didn't, so I am choosing If on a Winter's Night a Traveler by Italo Cavallo. Not Cavallo, sorry. Italo Calvino. This was originally printed in Italian and then it was translated. The translator is William Weaver, and I'm very much looking forward to reading this book. I purchased it because it is in a different format than normal. It's about a man on a train reading a story, like within a story. So excited to read this. If you've read this book, let me know down below. I love this simple cover as well. That's very nice. Next we have a Gothic novel. Again, I tend to read a lot of Gothic horror, and this year I didn't, which is very surprising. So I've chosen Perfume by Patrick Suskind. This is the story of a murderer. Looking forward to this as well. It has deckled edges. It has a map, which is very nice. It's all in, is that French? I don't know. Anyways, I'm looking forward to reading it. Very excited. This takes place in Paris, I think. So, yeah. The next category is an own voice book, which, again, I have here. It's called The Great American Whatever, and this was written by Tim Federle. I believe that's how you say his last name. I didn't realize that this was a middle grade author, and he usually writes, his majority of his books are middle grade. I can't remember what they are. So here is the book that I read, which was a YA. And here is his middle grade books. I'm pretty sure I've seen them at the library. So that's really cool. And those are about kids in theater. And he is the first person to ever write about two boys kissing in middle school. He didn't realize he was the first one to do it, but he was. And own voice being he's gay and his character is also gay, which, great. Own voice, perfect. Category is going to be a book with a body part in the title. And I thought this was very funny and fitting. That's Rump by Liesl Shurtliff. Liesl Shurtliff, however you say that. Rump as in, you know, your butt. But this is Rumpelstiltskin. And this was such a cute middle grade that I read to the children. So there, Rump is the title. Author's debut book, and that one is again a middle grade, and we have Bad Unicorn by Platte F. Clark. I didn't realize that Platte F. Clark has only written this trilogy, which, let me just say, is amazing. Please, if you don't like middle grade books and you've been thinking about picking one up, please pick up Bad Unicorn. At least try the first one, and maybe you'll like the second and third. This is hilarious. The characters are, you know, smart and funny and adventurous and brave, and there's a dwarf who doesn't have a beard, who's also claustrophobic and is afraid of being underground, which is, again, hilarious. There is a unicorn that turns into a woman, and she likes eating people. I can't say enough how amazing this trilogy is. Pick it up. So funny. Gory is a literary fiction. Now, I don't read much literary fiction, hardly ever. I think Station 11 was one of the only literary fiction books that I've read in the last couple of years. And so for this one, I haven't read it yet, but I plan on reading it this month, and that is The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. This is about a boy who he knows that a pet has died and he is investigating how the dog died. I think that's how it is. But it seems like it's going to be a super fast read. So I'm looking forward to it. The next challenge was to read a book that was set in either South America or Africa. Now, I looked and none of the books that I have on my shelves or that I've read this year qualify for this category. So I went to the library and I found We Eat Our Own by Kea Wilson. I like this cover. The font is pretty big, so I'm looking forward to that. And this takes place in the South American jungle. It's a horror book. That's all I want to know about it. The title itself, We Eat Our Own, makes me think that this is about cannibals. So looking forward to that. The next challenge was to read a book with a plot surrounded around a secret. And I have Dolores Clairborne here, and she has a secret that she's kept for like 20 odd years, something like that. And right now she is finally telling the police what happened. So I really liked that one. And the movie's good too, if you haven't seen it. Although the daughter in the book and the daughter in the movie are completely different. And I liked the book daughter better than I liked the movie daughter. So there's that. Next challenge is part of that Element challenge. And this one is Book 2, Fire. And I chose The Lying Game by Ruth Ware. There is a large fire that happens at the end of the movie that kind of ties up the entire book. It's almost like a cleansing, and I really enjoyed it. It made me cry. So yeah, loved this book, and that definitely goes for the challenge. Did I mention how the challenge works? I don't know if I did. It says 4 books linked by 4 elements. And it has to be either in the title, in the author's name, in the content, the setting. I think there's one more. I thought I wrote it down, but I didn't. So if there was a fire, water, whatever, and there was a fire in the book, so it works. Our next challenge was to read a book with a unique format or writing structure. Now, this could have totally worked, but 52 books. You have to do 52 books for 52 weeks for around the year. You know what I mean? So I can't double dip. So I can't use this one. So I decided to read an easy one, and that is The Invention of Hugo Cabret by Brian Selznick. Thank you, Penelope, for sending this to me. This will come in handy now. I've never read this book before, and it has regular, writing in it, and then it also has a lot of illustrations. And I'm thinking this will take like not that long to read. Hopefully I can finish it in maybe a day. We will see. Wish me luck. Let me know down below if you have seen this movie and if it's worth watching once I finish this. I might actually read this to the kids and then we can all watch the movie. I don't know. Let me know down below. All right, the next challenge is to read a narrative nonfiction. I thought all nonfiction was narrative. I have started a bunch, like Spook by Mary Roach. What else? There's a couple that I've started. But instead of finishing one of those, I decided to start a new one just because I like to challenge myself. And this is Wild by Cheryl Strayed. Yeah, I've been dying to read this. This is about a woman who is having not a midlife crisis, but she wants to, you know, really have a self-reflection, and she decides that she's going to hike the Pacific Coast Trail alone. And this is her story. I haven't, like I said, I haven't read it. I haven't seen the movie, but I'm looking forward to reading this. The font is extremely small in my opinion, but it should keep my interest because it's a, you know, it's a true story. So hopefully, again, crossing my fingers that everything goes smoothly. The next challenge, a book you expect to make you laugh. Now, this is Giant Days Volume 8. I have not read this yet, but I did read 5, 6, and 7 this year, and because I read 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, in the previous year, I knew that this was going to make me laugh. And again, I haven't picked this one up yet. I just wanted something to hold. I know that this will make me laugh as well. So the challenge was a book you expect to make you laugh. This definitely applies. Challenge 18 is a book with a location in the title. So I might be cheating just a tad, but the book that I read was The Hazelwood. So a wood or a forest is a location, and Hazelwood is the name of the location, so it works. Yes, I borrowed this from the library, so I don't own it. I did enjoy it. It's got very dark, twisted stories within a larger story, and yeah, really enjoyed. I'm still on the fence whether I want to purchase it or not because I don't typically reread fantasy books, and this is like a dark fantasy story. We'll see. It's a gorgeous cover. I love it. Next challenge, a book nominated for the Edgar Award or a Grand Master author. Again, I looked through all of the lists that this Goodreads group could provide me, and I haven't read any of them this year. So I have another book that I would like to try to read in the next 2.5 weeks, and that is Under the Harrow by Flynn. Is it Flynn Barry? Yeah, Flynn Barry. I believe I got this from Amy or her mom. I could be wrong. I did get this from a trade away. So one of my friends, being as nice as they are, sent me a brand new book. Please let me know down below who you are, because like I've said in a million videos now, I go through these spurts where I will unbox all of the tradeaways and then forget to put stickies in the inside letting me know who gave me these books, and I want to say thank you every time I talk about the book. So please let me know down below if you gave this to me. I'm pretty sure I know who you are, but I just want to double check. Anyways, this is supposed to be super good. It's it says it's a nail biter for fans of Gone Girl and The Girl on the Train. This is a chilling book. I liked Gone Girl, and The Girl on the Train was okay, so I'm looking forward to it. Category number 20 is read a book rated 5 stars by at least one of your friends. Now, I had to borrow this from the library because, again, I don't own it yet. I will be buying this book. This is I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. Now, my friend Penelope over at Penelope's Picks, I will leave her channel link down below. Please go check her out. She's super awesome. And she read this year and was like, blah, 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 how much she loved it. And, of course, I was like, yes, I want to love it too. So I picked it up. It's a short story. It's a very quick read. It's super confusing, and the ending will knock your socks off. I can't say more. Go into it blindly and then get to the end and be as bewildered as every other reader, because as soon as I reached the end, I immediately, now that I had, knowledge of what was happening, wanted to go back and start from the beginning and see if I would have a different view of the story once I knew what happened at the end. Very, very good. Can't wait to buy it soon, probably in 2019, maybe for my birthday. We'll see. Challenge number 21, a book written in first-person perspective. Now, I was going to talk about brooding YA hero becoming a main character almost as awesome as me by Carrie D'Aricio and illustrated by Linnea Gear. But I was confused on the way this works because this isn't first person, but it's kind of like a nonfiction, but it's like a parody of a nonfiction about writing YA. So I didn't know. So regardless, I also have a backup, and that is Fateful Place by Tana French. This is the third book in the Dublin Murder Squad. I am currently in the middle of it, and I got to a part where I actually am really liking it now. So I most definitely will finish this by the end of the year. And if for some reason I don't, because I do have like 7 other ones that I need to start, this will be my backup. But I'm really enjoying this, and this again is in first person as well. Challenge 22 is a book you have high expectations or hope for. Now, this is the sequel to The Butterfly Garden, which is by Dot Hutchison, and this is, like I said, the sequel to it. So because I liked The Butterfly Garden so much, I assumed that I would absolutely love this one as well. And although this is following different people, the detectives are the same, and the writing is the same, so you definitely get sucked in. Although The Butterfly Garden was a lot more exciting. This one is a little bit slower paced, but it was still really, really good. And the third book in this trilogy came out this year, which I do have on my Kindle, and it's this one here. I think it's The Something Children. But NetGalley let me have this book, and I still need to pick it up. But I did pick this one up because I knew I would like it, and I did. Challenge 23 is the only book or challenge that I will not be participating in this year, and that is a medical or legal thriller. I will never read a legal thriller. I can't say never, but I'm not interested in reading like court drama, court thrillers. I don't care about lawyers and all that stuff, but I do like the medical ones. I have read a ton of the Scarpetta books from Patricia Cornwell. That is considered a medical thriller. I have read a lot, like I said, of those, but they don't count because I didn't read it this year. So I'm looking forward to reading more. I do own, what's it called? By Scott Sigler, Infected. I think this might be a medical thriller, but I'm not positive. I know that Pandemic is a medical thriller, but that's book 3. So I'm assuming that all of them are, because it is about a pandemic and that's medical. We'll see. We'll see. Let me know down below if you have read Infected and if I should pick it up in January, because it looks amazing. And I do have books 1 and 2. Challenge was a book with a map. Now, I was going to use Artemis for this one, and here is the map from Artemis. You can see the 3 different like moon spheres that the people live in and work in and so forth. But again, I can't piggyback any of these books. There has to be 52 books for 52 challenges. So I chose We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I did read this. I absolutely loved this book. This is one of those books that I didn't listen to the hype, or not the hype, because there was a huge hype about this book, but like 50% of the people hated this book because it was so predictable and it was lame to some people, yada yada. This was amazing. It had a twist in it I wasn't expecting. This could have also been used for the fire category. But yeah, there's a map in here. So let me show you the map. And the map is right there. I was excited. I was thinking of maps and I remembered that this one had it. So this is Beechwood Island, where our setting takes place. And it has all the different houses of the families that live on this island. Super posh. And I really enjoyed this book. So I definitely want to pick up more of E. Lockhart to see if I like all of her books or if this was a fluke. Because I think if the fire never happened, I wouldn't have liked it as much. But it was such a twist that really hit home to me. For some reason, it just made me, like, it triggered me to the point of, like, bawling. All of a sudden, I was sobbing because of that scene. And that's not normal for me. Sometimes it's like a slow build up and then I start crying because I can feel the emotions happening. This one was a shock to my senses and I just started crying because it was so sad. Challenge is a book with an antagonist / villain point of view. I've read a few of these. It would be You by Caroline Kepnes. I've also read Vicious by V.E. Schwab. What else? I've read a couple that had the villain as the point of view for the book, but not this year. So I'm picking up The Collector by John Fowles. Am I saying that right? Yeah, John Fowles. And this is a first modern psychological thriller. Again, I was looking at the book to see whether or not I wanted to read it. I had a couple on my shelves that I could have put in this place, but I wanted this one because the margins are so big. I figured that this would be a fast read. I hate this cover. So I know that I talked to Keely, but if you own this book and it's one of your favorites, but you don't care whether or not the cover is, you know, a certain picture, I will trade you. I hate this cover. Despise is more like it. I can't stand it. But I do want to read the book, and so I'm hoping to get to it before December is over. Challenge 26. A book with text only, with a text only cover. And thankfully, I just finished The Strain by Guillermo del Toro and Chuck Hogan this month. I finished it last week, and it is the first book in a trilogy about vampires, and it was amazing. I listened to it on audio, and the narrator was the character with the horns. He's red.
Hellboy.
Thank you. The character who plays Hellboy in the movie, he's the one who narrates this. I will leave his name right here because I can't think of it right now. But it was so good. The book was good. The narration was good. I can't wait to read the rest of the story. Yeah, and hubby just helped me out. It's Ron Perlman. Ron Perlman. But, so, I was thinking about that book and I was trying to remember. I'm like, I think I have a pop figure that I received in a horror block box sometime last year, and lo and behold, I do have one. This is our main character. This is Dr. Goodweather, Ephraim Goodweather. He is the top dog in the CDC for the project. He was the top dog for the Canary Project, and he's the one helping with the vampire killing. So yeah, absolutely loved the book. I like my little pop figure that matches it. I can't wait to finish the trilogy and then go into the TV show. That's where the man comes from, the pop figure anyway. I think they should have more pop figures for just books in general. Like, why does it always have to be only for TV shows? I mean, I guess they need it for a visual, but it would be nice to have more book-related pop figures. Let me know down below if that's what you think too. Okay, next is Challenge 27, a book about surviving a hardship. And I chose The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. This is a tiny little Stephen King book. It's about a girl who, I think she's 12, 11 or 12, maybe she's 10. Shoot, I don't remember. Anyways, she goes on a hike with her mom and her brother, and they're definitely on a trail in the Appalachian Mountains, and her mom and her brother are bickering, and she keeps trying to get their attention, but they're ignoring her because they're fighting about, you know, stuff. And she goes, well, fine, I'm gonna go pee. And she's doing it on purpose to kind of like scare her mom into thinking that she's lost, but then lo and behold, she becomes lost and has to spend several days. Maybe she's gone for like 5 days. I can't remember how long she's hiking for, but she has to survive in the wilderness by herself with only a radio to keep her company until, of course, the batteries die, and her wits, like the things that her mom has taught her about plant life, some of the things that she learned in school. But it was a little anxiety ridden for me because as a mom of kids that were her age, I could never imagine them surviving alone in the woods, having to fend off any creatures and eat, and they would be dead. But this little girl was alive, which is so inspiring. I loved this book. Challenge was the third element challenge, and that is water. And I chose The Turning by Francine Prose. Now, if you guys remember, I hated this book. It was kind of awful, but it is surrounded by water. This house right here is on an island. It's the only house on the island. Our main character, Jack, I think his name's Jack, he takes a summer job where he has to kind of like nanny these two children. They're like under 10. And he's supposed to be like their playmates for the summer and teach them how to do sports. But while he was on the ferry to get to this island, he heard from an elderly couple that there was like a lot of murders on this island. And so he's very suspicious when he arrives. And the kids are very weird. And then things start happening. And overall, the synopsis is really good. And the story itself could have been better. There was potential, but it was written in letter form, and the letter form just didn't work. And then the boy was just obnoxious. I didn't like the main character at all, so I'm giving this away. The next challenge is a book with a clue weapon on the cover or in the title. So if you've played the board game Clue, you know that there is a candlestick and a rope and a revolver and a wrench and a pipe. And so with all of that being said, I looked through all of the covers that I read this year. I've read 80 books so far this year, and not one of them had a weapon on the cover. But I read Horror Store, and although this is not an actual candlestick, it is a candle. So I'm fibbing just a little bit, and I'm pretending that's a candlestick. I was very surprised that this like IKEA cover didn't have a candlestick in it. But because it's so modern, I guess we don't really use candlesticks. And I did read the Dark Tower series, you know, but none of those books had a revolver on it to represent our gunslingers, so that was a bummer drag, but hopefully that works. All right, and then we have a short book, which was Challenge 30. Now, a short book could be anything. In the description on the Goodreads group, it said, if you are used to reading 200-page books, then something shorter than that. It doesn't really matter as long as you consider it to be a short book. And so I chose this book here, Asylum, which was 148 pages on my Kindle. I read it during the Booktubeathon. I can't remember what the author's name is, so I will leave the author's name here, but this is the cover. Absolutely loved it. It's about a traveling, like, freak circus thing. It's like it's a traveling asylum where people pay money to be scared to death, and our main character doesn't believe that it is fake anymore. He thinks it's real. Very, very good. I highly recommend, if you can get your hands on this book, pick it up. Challenge 31 is a book set in a country you'd like to visit. Again, we have another library read that I did this year, and that is Dead Woman Walking. This is set in Scotland, and it's about a woman who is on an a hot air balloon ride with a bunch of people and her sister. And while they're all like taking pictures and the hot air balloon is about to land, you know, to end their trip, she looks over the side of the basket and sees a man trying to kill a woman. And she shouts out, and the man hears her, and then he starts firing at the hot air balloon. And the story goes from there. It's very strange. I did enjoy it though. There's a lot of back and forth with the time frame. We see the main character in the present and in the past and so forth. Very good. Definitely recommend. It came out in 2018, so in this year, but it does take place on the rim of Scotland, like the border of Scotland. So I would love to visit the entire United Kingdom, but I was very excited that I read something other than an American book, because a lot of my books this year took place in the United States. Okay, the next challenge is to read an alternate history book. An alternate history book. That was challenge 32. And I have chosen The Wolves of the Kala. This is Dark Tower book number 5 by Stephen King. The reason why I chose this one in particular is because we meet Father Callahan in this book, and we learn that while he's on his journey to getting to this place that he's at now, he sees that there is a difference between time. Like in one United States, this person is the president, and then he crosses a bridge, and in that alternate reality, which is again another kind of United States, the president is different. So that's an alternate history. There's a lot of things that happen within this series. There's a lot of time travel, a lot of like butterfly effect kind of things. If one thing happens, then it kind of messes around with other things. So yeah, I absolutely love this series. You should definitely pick it up. It's super long, extremely time consuming, but once you get to the second book, it flies. You're just like, I can't put it down. This is amazing. And these books are illustrated, my friends. I just absolutely love them. Here's another picture. There we go, there we go. So yeah, Stephen King is brilliant. I can't say enough about this series. I wish I could meet him. I would probably die. Challenge 33 is a book connected by either title, cover, or content to a word that was born in the same year as you. So I chose this at the beginning of the year, and that is Universal Harvester by, oh, what's his name? By this guy. I forgot his name. Again, this is another book that I was highly anticipating. I purchased it from Book Outlet. I read it. The cover is fantastic, as you can see. I thought it was going to be a horror. It wasn't. I was extremely disappointed. I didn't understand what the point of the story was. I do not recommend this book. I believe I gave it like a 2-star. It's about a boy who finds these VHS tapes. He works at a movie store, you know, a rental store, kind of like Blockbuster, but a little mom and pop shop. Because back when I was in high school, they had those things where you would go and rent movies from a little mom and pop shop. Anywho, when he sees that these movies are spliced with like very eerie scenes that kind of look like they could be real, not snuff, but something similar to that, the boy gets very concerned. And then the book goes from there, and it ends up not being scary at all, which was such a bummer drag. But the word born in the year I was camcorder. And this has a camcorder in the book. Yeah. If you see this cover and you like this guy because he is a musician, he's the lyricist to this band. Are they called the Mooses? Some kind of animal name. The Sheep? I don't know. Again, I will leave his band name right here. I don't know what it is. I don't know what his name is. But I'll probably never pick him up again because I didn't like his writing. Challenge 34. A suggestion from the Around the Year 2018 polls that didn't win but was polarizing or a close call. So I chose... I don't know why I did this. I can't do an asterisk with my finger. I chose a book set during the winter or in a snowy environment. And that book is Misery by Stephen King. This is set in the wintertime. Our main character, Paul Sheldon, is caught in a snowstorm. He loses control with his car, slides down an embankment. We have Misery. Not Misery, we have the main character, Annie. Annie, what's her last name? I guess it doesn't matter. Oh my gosh. But anyways, Annie's psycho, and she is his #1 fan. So she keeps him in her house as a hostage. And the only way he can be let out is by writing another Misery book. Because he stopped writing them. But she wants one all for herself. And it all takes place during the winter time. Loved this book. This is in my top 10 Stephen King books. This was so good. So freaky. I was having a hard time reading it because I didn't know what she was going to do next. She was so psycho. And Paul Sheldon is just like literally trying to survive. He doesn't know what to do. He's kind of freaking out at the same time. Next we have Challenge 35, and that is a book that features a murder. Either that was published in 2016, 2017, or 2018. Now, a lot of the books that I read this year could have fit this category. Most of the books that I read has a murder in it. But I wanted to feature Driven by my friend Dane Cobain, a fellow booktuber. This is the first book in the Lipfold trilogy series. I don't know how many books Dane is planning on writing. I would consider this to be a cozy mystery. I don't know. You could probably ask him what he puts his book under, what genre he thinks it is, but it's about a woman who is walking home from work one night when she gets run over by a car, a hit and run. She's dead. The police think that it was a murder, but they don't think that they're going to be able to solve it. But then we have this independent detective who thinks he can. He needs the money, and so he decides that he's going to investigate. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And his sidekick, which is his assistant, is like a little tiny goth girl, which I think is adorable. So what can you do? Love the book. Pick it up. You haven't read it. I will leave Dane's channel link down below. It's Dane's Reads. He's hilarious. He has a lovely beard. Go check him out. All right. Book is a book published in the last 3 years by an author you haven't read before. And again, a lot of the books this year could have fit this category, but I chose By a Charm and a Curse by Jamie Questel. Yes, that's her last name, Jamie Questel. This was a very good story. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. It's about a girl who gets charmed or tricked into kissing a boy that's in a like a box at this circus, and he's a fortune teller. You know those little fortune teller puppets where you get your fortune read? It reminded me of the movie Big, where, you know, the little boy asks the thing for a wish or something, and then he says he wishes he was big, and then he becomes big. Well, our main character notices that the boy in the box is a real person, and he tricks her into kissing him. And then the book goes from there. Absolutely loved it. If you like books that surround circuses, then you will definitely like this one. It's kind of a love story. It's also kind of like a survival story. And again, it's very fantastical. It's fantasy based. I really enjoyed it. This cover is beautiful because it's pink. Is there anything cool on the underneath part? Oh, no. All right, pick that one up. The next challenge is Challenge 37, and that is a woman's prize for fiction, either a winner or a nominee. I checked all of the books I own. I've checked all the books that I read this year, and I have hundreds that are written by women, but none of them are nominees or winners of the woman's prize for fiction. So what I've done is I've added a book to the list. I'm probably not going to get to it this year, so this will be a fail for this challenge, but it's been on my Amazon wish list for forever, and I would like to get to it in 2019, and that is Swamplandia by Russell, because that's the actress. Anywho, her name will be down here. I printed out this little list, and for some reason I left all of the authors off the list because I'm a moron. But I absolutely loved her collection of short stories, which is A Vampire in the Lemon Grove, I believe. I read that a few years back. Really, really enjoyed it, so I definitely want to pick up Swamplandia, and she won a prize for that one. Okay, the next challenge is 38, a science book or a science fiction book. And I did read a science fiction, again, Artemis. Absolutely hated it. But I did read another science fiction book this year, and that is Landscape with Invisible Hand by M.T. Anderson. This is my first M.T. Anderson book. I really hated this book too. I think I also gave this either 2.5 or 3 stars. Thank goodness it was a library book, and it's super short, but I just absolutely couldn't stand it. It's about an alien invasion, and it's about a boy who's an artist who draws emo pictures of what life is like now that the aliens have taken over the earth, and he decides that he wants to participate in this art contest, and if he wins this art contest, he'll get enough money to be able to move from Earth itself up to the sky, because the rich people all live in these like flying hotels, and they don't have to worry about peasants and being like poor and not being able to eat anything and like grossness on the earth. But in their little sky houses, they're all, you know, proper people. Anyways, the aliens are weird. The book is weird. I just didn't like it. And I don't want to, you know, poo-poo on the book if you liked it. If you like it, great. But for me, it's not my taste, and I just didn't get it. I really disliked the book. So, but it's a challenge. is a book with a form of punctuation in the title. And for that one, I read Winnie the Pooh. As you can see, there are 2 hyphens in the title. This one was really hard. Most books do not have punctuation in them. And so I chose this one by A.A. Milne. And this is the first book. I didn't realize that there were so many Winnie the Pooh stories, but obviously, I mean, I've seen the cartoons growing up, and I definitely want to pick up the other ones. I think there is a blue, a green, and a pink one of these, and I want the whole collection because they're so stinking cute. I read this to the children in January while we were on vacation in Washington. So I started it during the vacation time and finished it up in January. Again, if you've seen the Winnie the Pooh cartoons, then you will love these stories because it's just the cartoon in written form. And of course, this came first, which I really need to see the live action of this because I didn't know that Christopher Robin was a real person. I thought that was just the character. And it's very cute that this man wrote all of these stories for his real life son. So that just warms my heart. Loved that book. Then we have a book from Amazon's 100 Books Read in a Lifetime's list. Now, this could have also been used for the punctuation thing, and that is Charlotte's Web. There is a apostrophe here. But yeah, this says it's the 60th anniversary edition by E.B. White. I love Charlotte's Web, and I got to read this one to my children as well. I grew up on the movie. I tried to make my voice sound like the cartoon characters from the movie, and my kids absolutely loved it. And again, this is on the Amazon 100 must-read in your lifetime lists. So, yes. It's done. Number 41. The challenge 41 is a book by an author with the same first and last initials as you. This was very hard. Again, I figured, you know, MC is not a really hard initial to find, but it was, especially on my shelves. And the only thing I could find was Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. I haven't read this either. I have my work cut out for me. I will be reading, like I said, a bunch of books in the next 2.5 weeks. I've been dying to read this, especially since after I read Meg by Steve Alten, I wanted more creature books, and this movie is amazing. I own this movie, and so I can't wait to read the physical form. Looking forward to it. Maybe I'll do it in a movie man voice. Like, you know, the people who do the trailers. Wouldn't that be funny? My son walks around, my 13-year-old, walks around narrating life in a trailer movie voice, and it drives me crazy. But that makes me think that I need to do the entire book like that. I wonder if I could do it in my head. I'll let you know. Number 42 is a book that takes place on, in, or underwater. And that, my friends, is Meg. Again, by Steve Alten. This is my second go with this. I read this book to my children over the summer, and then we went and saw the movie. I was so excited to share a love with my children, not only, you know, to read a book before seeing a movie, but this is fantastic and cheesy and a blockbuster hit. And it's just all the things that you want and more, things that you didn't even want and expect, you got. The movie isn't quite like the book, but it was still very entertaining. And this takes place on the water, in the water, underwater. It's awesome. Loved it. Thank you, Erica, again for, you know, constantly talking about this book and making me pick it up. If you don't know who Erica is, her channel link is The Perks of Books. I will leave that down below. Please check her out. She just did a book haul on some very awesome books. And yeah, check her out. She's wonderful. What's next? A book with a title that is a whole sentence. again, not a lot of my books were whole sentences, but I did read another middle grade to my children, and that is Gustav Gloom and the People Taker. This is by Adam Troy Castro, illustrated by Kristen Margiotta. This is the first book in a 6 or 7 book series about a little boy who is half shadow. He's a shadowling, if you want to call it that. So he's half human, half shadow. He lives in this really dark, shadowy house, and across the street is a fluorescent pink house where 2 little girls named Pearl and Fernie move in with their father. And Fernie loves the fact that she lives across the street from a haunted house. She's so excited, she, rushes over to find out what's going on and notices that there is a little boy there who looks extremely sad, and all she wants to do is be his best friend, but her dad's like, don't go over there. And then they have a neighbor, and the neighbor's like, I want to like rip down this house. It's ugly and it doesn't match the rest of our rainbow road. They go on a bunch of adventures with each other. So cute. Long-winded sentences, but lots of high vocabulary words for those budding brains. So if you like reading to your children like I do, I would definitely pick up this series. Not only is it entertaining, but it also teaches about friendship and loyalty and love and family and being brave and overcoming obstacles and fears and yada yada yada. Great book. 4 was to read a ghost story, and I have here Rooms by Lauren Oliver. This is the only book that Lauren Oliver has written that is an adult book, and this is under the genre horror, but I would consider this to be a paranormal family drama. We have a house where 2 ghosts live. We get to see their POV. They're talking about how they died, what they want, what they don't want, and then the main family, their patriarch has died, and so they're into the home and they're selling things, trying to get rid of things so that way they can sell the house, and the ghosts are getting nervous because they don't want anyone else living there. It's a really good story. I didn't know if I would like it once I found out that it wasn't actually a scary book, but again, it was very enlightening. It's very heartfelt, and it really delves into family tragedy and like how people cope with their own insecurities and loss and so forth. So if you like family dramas with a little bit of ghosts sprinkled in there, then definitely pick up this book. 45 is a book that intimidates or scares you. Now, normally people would choose maybe a big book like Moby Dick or the Song of Ice and Fire series because that's extremely intimidating, or even House of Leaves because that book is ridiculously hard to understand and read, and I still need to do that sometime in 2019. But instead of choosing a long book or a giant series, I chose a hated author. That's right, my friends. That is Tithe by Holly Black. I don't like Holly Black. I've only read like 4 or 5 books of hers hoping that I would like her, and I still don't like her or her writing. I read Doll Bones way back when. That was my first book that I ever read by her, and I really enjoyed it. And then I read her YA stuff and was like, poo-poo, hate them all. This is no exception. I read this. It was pretty fast read. I do own the entire trilogy. There's also Valiant and Ironside that I need to pick up. But this is a fairy story, and it's also about a changeling. So changelings are fairies that are then dropped off at a human's house, whereas the human baby is taken and the fairy baby is left in its stead, and the parents are none the wiser. I mean, some parents will know right off the bat that that's definitely not their baby, but some don't. And that's what this book is about a changeling who finds out that she is a fairy and needs to go about, you know, fixing things. There's a romance in here. It's cute. I would never reread this, and so it is going on my save pile on the back wall over here because I can't get rid of it and give it to you guys in a trade away until I've read the entire trilogy. So I will be torturing myself 2 more times in the coming years until I finish this series up before I can give it to you. Maybe after the second one I'll realize I just absolutely don't want to finish it and I'll just DNF the series. We will see. 46 is the last book in that 4-book elemental challenge, and the next one is Air, and so I chose the very last book in the Gustav Gloom series, and that is And the Castle of Fear. Now, as you can see, there's clouds, and they are up on top of a statue fighting to the death. They're dueling the Dark Lord Obsidian in the Dark Country, and it takes place in the sky, you know, basically. All sides are fighting. We have the Shadow people fighting, we have Lord Obsidian's people fighting, we have Fernie and Gustav fighting, and so it was bittersweet. I really enjoyed this book. The last picture is so stinking cute. There's the last picture. Aw, so cute. I loved the illustrations. And for some reason, I had to buy the hardcovers for 6 and 7. I like having matching series, but these 2 didn't come in paperback. I don't think they were even written in paperback, so bummer drag for me. Definitely check out the series. Let's see. Challenge 47. A book where the main character or author is of a different ethnic origin, religion, or sexual identity than you. This one was really, really hard because all of the authors seemed like they were, you know, white, and even though I'm mixed, I have white in me. And so I chose Nectophobia. We have a woman who is from England, but I don't know her nationality. I don't know her ethnicity. I believe she is some European descent, but her husband, who's also a main character really, is Spanish. So there's that. And then we also have the author seemed a little tan, and I couldn't find any information on whether or not he was a different ethnicity than me or if he was a different religion. I'm more spiritual than religious, so I guess anybody who was of religious background would be different from me. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. It's a slow burn creep fest, kind of gothic in nature, like, you know, We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. It's reminiscent of that kind of writing. So if you like those slow burn, mystery, creepy books, then I would definitely pick this one up. Again, it takes place in Spain, so if you need to check countries off your book reading list, that one is set in Spain. The next book that I read was a book related to one of the 7 deadly sins. That's the challenge. And so I chose Thinner by Richard Bachman, aka Stephen King. Now this was a pretty good book. It's about a lawyer who runs down a, they're called gypsies in this book. I know people don't like that. Romany? I believe that's what they're called. The proper term for them is he runs her over and kills her. I mean, he doesn't do it on purpose. It's on accident. But he pretty much gets away with it. And so the father of the woman who is killed or hit and killed, puts a curse on our main character, and he becomes thinner. So I'm saying it's part of gluttony, because he was a very heavy man before he got the curse, and then he has to eat triple, quadruple amounts of food now just to try to maintain a little bit of weight on him. So I'm going to say gluttony. And the old man, you know, the Romney guy who did the curse, is gluttonous for revenge. So yeah, there's a little bit of that too. Let me know what you thought of this book. I haven't watched the movie yet, but I did enjoy this for the most part. I think I gave it like a 3.54 stars. All right, we're down to the last 4 books. 49 is a book from one of the Goodreads best books of the month lists. And I had kind of a lot of books on this list that I do own on my shelves, but I haven't read this year yet. And what I chose was Help for the Haunted by John Searles, because I did have this in my last hook and read, and I did read the first paragraph of this, and I did want to pick this up, so I will be picking it up this month. And what I read to you guys was that there's a girl who's listening in on a phone call, and normally when the phone call rings late at night, she assumes that there's going to be a knock at the door and that her parents are going to rush someone who's at the door down into their basement. I don't know what they do in their basement, but it says Help for the Haunted. So I don't know if it's like these people are possessed, or they have some other kind of affliction that her parents help ward off or fix or heal. I'm not sure, but I am interested in this book. And yeah, this was from September 2013 on Goodreads. This was the best book of September 2013. I'm looking forward to that one. All right, down to 3 more left. A book, number 50, a book with a warm atmosphere. So this could be centered around family, friendship, love, or summer. And I chose Burnt Offerings by Robert Morosco. Now, it starts off with a loving family, so we have that going for them. But this is set in the summertime, and the loving family doesn't become loving so much at the end, but again, it's a summer read. The couple live in New York, and it's summertime. The husband is just about to get off. He's a teacher, and he's just about to go on summer break. They are sick and tired of being in their extremely hot and cramped apartment in New York City, and they're looking for a summer home to rent, so that way they can, you know, get some time away from the busy ups and downs and the grind of the city. So, with that being said, this is a haunted house read. I really liked it, and I'm definitely glad I picked it up this month, because it definitely suits the challenge. All right, we are down to 2 more. Number 51 is an award-winning short story or short story collection. Award-winning. Again, I had to look this up, and none of the books that I own or read this year are award-winning, besides the one that I'm about to share with you, and that is The Diving Pool by Yoko Ogawa. I've read 2 of her books so far. I've read Revenge, which is a short story collection, a few years back. I'm surprised that it wasn't on the list. I also read Hotel Iris, which was, unbeknownst to me, a Japanese erotica. Yeah, I was shocked when there was a little S&M in the book, so I gave it away. My friend Maddie and I read it, and it kind of freaked me out. I mean, not the whole S&M part, but just like, you know, thinking it's going to be a scary book, because Revenge is a little scary, and that definitely wasn't scary. And it was between a young girl and an extremely old man. Again, another ew So I gave it away. But this one is a collection of short stories. And because I like Yoko Ogawa, I'm hoping that I will love this. There's only 3 novellas in here. But again, it was award winning. And I want to finish it this year. So wish me luck. The very, very last book. The very last book. Challenge 52 is to read a book published in 2018. Now, several of these books that were on this list were published this year, but I want, of course, to share a new book with you, and that is right here, which was The Woman in the Window. This is by A.G. Finn. Am I correct? I believe his the author's name here. What I didn't realize, and I don't know why I just assumed that A.G. was a girl, but I thought it was a girl, and the author is a boy, which he's pretty cute. So yeah, The Woman in the Window is about a woman who has agoraphobia, so she doesn't leave her house. She is a wine fanatic and kind of just boozes all day and people watches out her window. It's kind of creepy. She like stalks her neighbors with cameras and binoculars and like documents their lives because she can't go outside. And then all the while she is taking her antidepressants and like her anxiety medicine and washing it all down with bottles and bottles of red wine. Not a good mixture. She's also a witness to something, and the police don't believe her because, you know, she's always sloshed. So there you go. I really enjoyed it. It's one of those books in 2018 that has gotten a lot of praise. A lot of people have liked it, and there was a couple twists in the book that I didn't see coming. The very last twist is what really sealed the deal for me. I was not expecting that at all. Like, literally at all. It was one of the last things that could have popped into my mind that could have happened. And sometimes when I'm watching a movie, I would have caught on to that. But this book was written so well, I didn't catch it. So the ending was a shock. I absolutely loved it. And that, my friends, after an hour and 20 minutes, is my Around the Year in 52 books. Of course, I will be editing this video and making it shorter so it's not as long, but my 30 minutes has now skyrocketed to about an hour, so I do apologize for that. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week. Let me know down below if you have participated in this challenge, or yeah, it's a challenge. If you've participated in this challenge in previous years, did you participate this year? Are you planning on doing it next year? I'm definitely going to do it next year. This is one of my favorite book collective challenges that I do every year. And this one was way more successful because, like I said in my video last year, that was, you know, coming up for this year. In 2017, I said that this time around, I wasn't going to pick any of the books prior, so that way I could just fill them in as I read them, which was a way better option because the previous years I tried to just collect books that matched all the challenges, and that ended up being a bust because sometimes I don't follow my TBR. You know what I'm saying? So this time around I was able to shove things in there. So before I let you go, I'm just going to hold up the stack of books that I plan on reading in the next 2.5 weeks, just to give you guys kind of like a TBR heads up. So here's the pile that I plan on reading in the next 2 weeks, which is ridiculous. But if my friend, I wish she was my friend, if Lala over at Books and Lala can read 10 books in 10 days, I think I can read 12 in a little over 2.5 weeks. Because she is a mom too, and she works as well. So if I push myself, I can do it. So again, we have the Da Vinci Code, Help for the Haunted, Wild, We Eat Our Own, Perfume, The Invention of Hugo, Cabret, The Collector, The Diving Pool, Under the Harrow, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, If on a Winter's Night, A Traveler, and Jurassic Park. Now, I would have a 12th or 13th book, which is Swamplandia, but I probably won't borrow that from the library anytime soon, and it's on my wish list, so I will be purchasing it at some point. This doesn't include any of the books that I'm currently reading or the books that were on my TBR for December, but I want to really make an effort to finish these books, and if I can, that would be wonderful. So again, wish me luck, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and talk to me down in the comments. That's it. I hope you guys have a good night. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!